The cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Or, a new villain, depending entirely on whose PR team you ask.
Right. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we are pulling way, way back. We are zooming out of the tightly cropped frame of your television screen to look at a story that is just like completely dominating pop culture right now.
It really is everywhere. The headline you are probably seeing is, "What Netflix is Hiding About Blake Robertson."
Yeah, because in October 2025, a man was arrested for domestic assault in Texas.
Uh-huh.
But just 3 months earlier, millions of people watched that exact same man get down on one knee in this highly romantic, perfectly lit Netflix finale.
It is such a jarring pivot. I mean, you go from analyzing a heavily produced dating show to, literally parsing through real-world police reports.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to reconstruct the explosive aftermath of Netflix's The Ultimatum, Marry or Move on Season 4.
Specifically focusing on the relationship between Hayley Hendrich and Blake Robertson.
Right. We are going to look at the psychological mechanics of the production, the legal realities of a post-show arrest, and honestly how audiences are manipulated by the final cut.
And we have pulled a massive stack of sources to get to the bottom of this, right?
Oh, absolutely. We are cross-referencing exclusive interviews from Swoon, legal documents that were obtained by TMZ and Starcasm, and cast statements made to E! News.
Plus, we've got to talk about the massive real-time jury deliberations happening over on Reddit.
Yes, the Reddit threads are wild. But to understand how this relationship ended up in a Texas police station, we have to start with the foundational dynamic.
Right, the meet cute.
On paper, it sounds like a literal romantic comedy setup. You have 23-year-old Hayley, who is a marketing specialist, and 26-year-old Blake.
And they met when she was hired to be a nanny for his stepbrothers, right?
Yeah, just for a 10-day stint. But Blake was reportedly doing some heavy on-the-job flirting.
Which sets a very specific tone from the jump. You have this employer-adjacent relationship where he is pushing boundaries.
But she actually maintained a strict professional boundary. She totally shut it down.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, she didn't agree to go on a date with him until a month later when they just randomly bumped into each other at a catered event where she was working.
Okay, so fast forward a couple of years, and they end up on The Ultimatum.
Right. And for those who haven't fallen down this specific reality TV rabbit hole, the premise is that one partner issues a marriage ultimatum and the other is basically dragging their feet.
And in this scenario, Blake was the one who issued the ultimatum.
Exactly. Hayley was holding out. She actually described their relationship as fire and ice, claiming Blake lacked emotional vulnerability.
I mean, she said he simply couldn't hold space for her feelings, right?
Yeah.
No?
Whenever she tried to express the need, she said the conversation would just get entirely turned around on her.
Which creates a fascinating psychological profile before the cameras even start rolling.
Totally.
You have a partner demanding a lifelong commitment, while the other feels entirely unseen and unheard.
And that's not even the wildest part of what happened before the engagement. But we'll get to the actual arrest in a minute.
First, we have to talk about the show's experiment. The core mechanic of The Ultimatum involves splitting these couples up and forcing them into a trial marriage with another cast member.
Right, to see what you might be missing. And Hayley's trial marriage was with a castmate named Killian Grandin.
And it went off the rails almost immediately.
Oh, it was a disaster. In an exclusive interview with Swoon, Hayley revealed some incredibly dark behind-the-scenes details that Netflix entirely scrubbed from the narrative.
This part is so disturbing.
During her time living with Killian, she happened to look at his phone, and she found a group chat where Killian and his friends outside the show were making incredibly vulgar, degrading comments.
They were constantly comparing Hayley to Killian's actual girlfriend, Ashley. Right?
Yes, in the most demeaning ways possible.
See, to understand the impact of that, you really have to look at the mechanisms of reality TV production.
How so?
Where cast members are deprived of their usual support systems. They are isolated in a highly controlled, high-stress environment.
Oh, that makes sense.
And the entire premise of the trial marriage dictates that you're supposed to rely heavily on this new partner.
Right, you're supposed to be vulnerable with them.
Exactly. So for Hayley to discover that her assigned partner is actively degrading her to his friends, it creates a profound sense of isolation.
And hypervigilance. And the boundary crossing actually escalated beyond text messages, too.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there was this bizarre conversation where Killian allegedly told Hayley he would have slept with her if she weren't so modest.
Ugh, that is so gross.
And then it became physical. Hayley claims she woke up one night to find Killian holding and rubbing her hand while she slept.
Oh my God. That level of physical and emotional boundary violation puts a person in a state of constant threat assessment.
Absolutely. She's trapped in a manufactured living situation with someone making her feel profoundly unsafe.
And that hypervigilance doesn't just evaporate when the trial marriage ends, you know.
No, of course not.
She carried that activated defensive state directly back into her reunion with Blake for the second half of the show.
Which honestly made her the absolute perfect target for the post-production editing team.
Oh, they definitely had a field day with her footage.
Yeah.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, by the way, make sure you're subscribed. We have got even crazier stories ahead.
Yes, definitely hit subscribe. Because if you just watch the final cut on Netflix, you walk away thinking Hayley is wildly volatile.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
She has shown starting arguments out of thin air.
But reality TV editing is basically a funhouse mirror. It uses your actual reflection, like your actual reactions, but it mathematically distorts the context so you look monstrous.
Let's break down that infamous coffee shop icebreaker fight.
Oh, I was just going to bring that up. On screen, Blake sweetly suggests they play a little card game to get to know each other better.
And Hayley just bites his head off, like totally snaps.
Right, but the hidden context completely rewrites that scene. In her interviews, Hayley revealed that just before this coffee shop date, she had found Blake's personal journal.
Wait, what was in it?
He was actively fantasizing about a physical relationship with Ashley, his trial marriage partner.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. So Blake asks to play a generic getting-to-know-you game after they have been dating for nearly 2 years.
All while she secretly knows he is journaling about another woman.
Exactly. Suddenly, her reaction isn't unhinged at all. It is the reaction of someone feeling deeply betrayed and insecure.
But she probably isn't allowed to break the fourth wall and talk about the journal on camera, right?
Most likely. And the exact same manipulation happened with a fight they had over which church to attend.
Oh, the show framed that as a petty, ridiculous squabble.
Right. But Hayley later explained it was actually a breaking point over Blake's complete refusal to ever compromise or consider her perspective.
And wasn't that compounded by him repeatedly breaking promises to plan dates for them?
Yes, exactly.
The edit just strips away the cause and only broadcasts the effect. It presents this narrative of a calm, rational man dealing with a hysterical woman.
All while entirely hiding the actions that provoked her distress.
But wait, I am struggling to square this.
What do you mean?
Because I hear all of this, right? The trial marriage with Killian was toxic. She's finding journals about other women. The environment is engineered to break them down.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
So if things were genuinely this bad, and she was feeling this isolated and unheard, why on earth did she say yes when Blake eventually got down on one knee at the end of the season?
Well,
that just doesn't track logically for me.
Logically, no, it doesn't track at all. But psychologically, it is practically a textbook trauma bond response.
Okay, unpack that.
Hayley herself used a very telling metaphor in her swoon interview. She said she was chasing the light in a dark tunnel.
Wow.
During that final proposal scene, Blake cried. He exhibited a level of emotional vulnerability that she'd been begging for since day one. So she saw that rare display of emotion and thought it was a permanent turning point.
Precisely. She admitted she was holding on to hope that an engagement ring would act as a bandage over all their festering wounds.
That is so sad, honestly.
It is. In an environment specifically designed to push participants toward an engagement and feeling completely worn down, she grabbed onto the first real emotional lifeline he offered.
Hoping it meant he was finally willing to meet her needs. But the bandage fell off almost immediately.
Yeah, it did not last.
I was looking through the timeline established by E! News, and the engagement lasted a grand total of 4 months.
Just 4 months.
Yep. Filming ended in May 2025, and by mid to late September, Hayley had called the whole thing off.
She frankly admitted they did not get to enjoy one bit of the engagement.
And this is where the narrative sharply veers away from entertainment gossip and lands squarely in the legal system.
Because on October 18th, 2025, Blake was arrested in Nacogdoches, Texas.
Right. And the charge was misdemeanor assault, specifically family violence by contact.
Let's actually define what that means legally, because it sounds like a lot of jargon.
Yeah. So in Texas, assault by contact is a Class C misdemeanor. It basically means someone intentionally or knowingly made physical contact with another person.
But only when they knew or should have reasonably believed the other person would find that contact offensive or provocative.
Exactly. It is not just yelling, it is physical touch. And when
Yeah.
you add the family violence enhancement to it, it becomes incredibly serious.
And as with everything involving these two, we have wildly dueling accounts of what happened that night.
Oh, entirely different stories. And we have to impartially examine both narratives because they are fundamentally opposed.
Right. So according to Haley's account, they were on a supposedly romantic anniversary trip to Charleston.
Which already sounds tense.
Very. She claims she caught Blake drunkenly buying drinks for two women at a bar, and she reacted by pouring a beer on him.
Okay. And then later that night, she says she found him attempting to drive his truck while intoxicated.
Which is terrifying. She claims she got in, took the wheel to drive them safely home, and that during this drive, he became physical and put his hands on her.
But Blake's camp vehemently denies this sequence of events.
Of course they do.
In subsequent statements and later at the reunion, Blake claimed that Hayley was actually the aggressor.
He stated that she clocked him through a window, right?
Yes, and that any physical contact on his part was strictly defensive, just an attempt to restrain her.
The legal resolution of this incident adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing. Later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming regarding those legal papers.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next.
So, according to statements from Blake's attorney to TMZ, the case was dismissed almost immediately by the prosecutor.
Right. And by June 2026, the records were officially expunged from Blake's public file.
But you're digging into the court documents obtained by Sarcasm, right?
Yes, and what completely threw me wasn't just the dismissal, but Blake's prior history. Sarcasm uncovered that Blake had a prior 2021 DWI arrest, which ultimately resulted in him pleading guilty to obstructing a highway in September 2023.
Oh, wow. Now, a prior record doesn't automatically prove guilt in the 2025 incident.
No, definitely not. But it certainly contextualizes Hayley's allegations about him attempting to drive drunk that night in Charleston.
It definitely adds weight to her fear in that moment. But here is the piece of the legal puzzle that trips up so many people looking at this case.
What's that?
If Hayley stands by her story that he assaulted her, why did she sign a legal affidavit that directly led to his case being dismissed?
That is the pivotal question, honestly, and it requires an understanding of how domestic violence cases are often prosecuted.
Or rather, not prosecuted. According to reports from Tudum and Us Weekly, Hayley signed an affidavit of non-prosecution.
Which basically tells the state of Texas, I will not cooperate as a witness if you take this to trial.
Exactly that. And it is crucial to understand that an affidavit of non-prosecution is not a recantation.
Right. Doesn't mean the event didn't happen.
In domestic situations, victims frequently sign these documents for a myriad of reasons. Hayley stated she signed it as a favor to protect Blake's public and professional image.
She didn't want his life ruined by a permanent public record.
Yeah, she wanted to handle the fallout privately while still fully expecting him to take accountability for his actions behind closed doors.
Which brings us to the absolute explosion at the July 2026 reunion stage.
This was insane to watch.
You have Nick and Vanessa Lachey hosting, trying to guide a standard reality TV wrap-up, and Blake physically pulls those signed affidavits out of his pocket on stage.
He weaponized the very document Hayley signed to protect him.
Yes, using it on international television to defend his innocence and publicly discredit her story.
It was a startling moment of the legal system leading onto a highly produced soundstage.
Truly. It highlights the profound disconnect between how the legal system functions and how public perception is managed.
Blake used the legal dismissal as definitive proof of his innocence.
While Hayley maintained that the dismissal was merely a courtesy, she extended to him, which he then turned against her.
Nick Lachey summarized it as best he could in the moment. He said, "We have totally different versions of the same story. When you're in a toxic relationship, things go sideways."
But the deeper you read into the cast statements to E! News, you realize it wasn't just Hayley and Blake going sideways.
Oh, not at all. The entire environment was toxic.
During that same reunion, Ashley accused Killian of throwing her phone and putting his hands on her.
An incident that allegedly required her parents to physically intervene.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have Idris, who admitted on stage to hitting on Alex off camera despite being engaged to Jessica Grace.
And Jessica Grace herself accused Idris of subjecting her to what she specifically termed humiliation rituals.
That phrase is just chillin'.
She refused to elaborate on the details of what those rituals entailed, but the phrase alone paints a deeply disturbing picture of emotional abuse happening entirely out of frame.
Seriously. When you look at reality TV casting, it is essentially building a bomb where you purposefully source the most unstable chemicals you can find.
That is a great analogy.
You string together assault allegations, phone throwing, extreme isolation tactics, and humiliation rituals, and you can no longer blame individual bad apples.
You have to question the barrel itself, and the public reaction to all of this on Reddit was absolutely fascinating.
The internet essentially acted as a real-time jury. They were debating not just the facts of the arrests, but the ethics of the production.
The public perception of Blake was intensely divided, and it reveals a lot about how we are conditioned to view conflict.
Yeah, some users pointed to Blake's incredibly calm, level-headed demeanor on the show as proof that he was the rational partner.
Unfortunately burdened with an erratic, hysterical fiancé.
Right. But a massive contingent on Reddit completely rejected that narrative. They introduced a psychological framework called reactive abuse.
I saw those threads. This is when a toxic partner calmly and methodically pushes, provokes, and gaslights someone until they finally snap.
Exactly. Then the calm partner points a finger, or in this case a camera, at the reaction and says, "Look how crazy they are."
Viewers started analyzing Blake's communication style, describing it as robotic, calculated, and even scary.
There was one viral thread where people dissected his highly manicured appearance.
Oh, the teeth thing.
Yes, specifically noting how his top teeth never show when he smiles, projecting this image of him as a tightly wounded individual holding a very heavy mask in place.
Now, whether that armchair body language analysis is entirely fair or not, it highlights a profound shift in media literacy.
Audiences are no longer passively accepting the narrative handed to them by the editors.
They're looking for micro-expressions and studying the psychological underpinnings of the cast, because they instinctively know the funhouse mirror is distorting the truth.
So we track this journey from a seemingly harmless meet-cute through a heavily manipulated reality TV gauntlet, straight into real-world legal battles, expunged records, and a fractured public narrative.
The edit is a narrative device, guys. It is not a documentary.
The people on our screens are deeply flawed individuals whose lives and traumas do not magically pause when the season finale drops.
The affidavits, the police reports, the psychological fallout, that reality persists long after the Netflix queue automatically advances to the next show.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. If reality TV casting actively seeks out people with volatile histories because it makes for good entertainment, at what point does our appetite for on-screen drama make us complicit in their off-screen trauma?
That is a question we all need to sit with.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncovered the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.